Saluja, and today I'm going to be telling you the 5 most important rules a beginner should know when they start golf. Alright guys, so the first rule we're going to start with is you can't have more than 14 clubs in your bag at once. So if you're playing in a tournament or a really important match and it's a serious tournament, then you're going to have to make sure that you have 14 or less clubs in your bag, or else you'll receive a 2-stroke penalty, and that will hurt your game in the long run. So make sure you have 14 or less clubs in your bag at once. Alright guys, our second rule is going to be kind of a mix of two, which is knowing which ball you're playing and playing your ball as it lies. So obviously first, knowing which ball you're playing is very important, because if you do accidentally hit your partner's ball or your opponent's ball, then that would result in a 2-stroke penalty. So you definitely don't want that happening. And for the second part of this rule, making sure you play your ball as it lies, this is super important, because you don't want to just be knocking your ball off from the rough into the fairway, or bumping your ball around. That's honestly, if you're doing that, you're not honest to yourself, and it will result in a 2-stroke penalty if you do use your foot or you try to bump your ball around, unless you take a stroke and try to get out. Otherwise, you can't mess around with your ball. You have to play it as it lies, even if it's in a tough lie or a tough spot. Alright guys, so for our third rule today, we're going to be talking about the tee box. So it's really important when you're teeing up your ball, especially on the first hole. There's a lot of pressure and you feel the nerves in your mind. Even for beginners and even for me, I'm thinking about a lot of different things in the middle of my swing, and as I'm walking up to the tee box, how do I hit this ball clean? How do I hit this in the fairway? There are a lot of things going on in your mind. So make sure you always tee off your ball behind those 2 tee markers, wherever you're playing from. So if you do tee off the ball in front of the markers, it will result in a 2-stroke penalty, and that never helps in the long run. So always make sure you're behind the tee box markers, and you can go a maximum of 2 club lengths behind the markers. So you can take out your driver, put it down on the ground, lay it flat like this twice, and then that's as far back as you can go. So make sure you just never tee off your ball in front of the markers, because that will be a penalty. Alright guys, so our fourth rule, this is a pretty important rule. So when you hit the ball out of bounds, what do you do? So if I'm teeing off, I slice the ball, it goes past the white stakes. The white stakes mark out of bounds. So if the white stakes are on the right side of the fairway and I go over them to the right, that's out of bounds. So if I go over them, I'm out of bounds. I have to re-tee from where I just hit and take a 2-stroke penalty. And that's a new rule. It used to be 1 stroke, but now it's 2. They've changed that. So you want to make sure you're not hitting out of bounds. So if you do believe that you are in bounds, but you're not sure, you think, well, maybe I went out of bounds, I just don't know, you have to hit a provisional. And what that means is you basically re-tee. So if you did end up hitting out of bounds, you wouldn't have to go all the way back to the tee box when you were looking for it. You could just go to that ball, and if you do find your original ball, you can pick up the provisional you hit and play your original ball. So if you're unsure, always take a provisional, and if you believe your ball is still in play, you have 3 minutes to look for it, and that was recently changed from 5. So make sure you're playing on pace, and yeah, that's an important rule. Alright guys, thanks for staying with me. So our last rule is going to be about scorecard ruling. So if after, of course, every shot, you write down your score on the scorecard in the tournament, or even if you're playing for fun, and at the end you turn in your scorecard in actual tournaments, and they will check your score and everything. So it's really important not to write down the wrong score or cheat in any way, mostly because golf, there are no referees in golf. You are your own referee, and by cheating, you only hurt yourself, because you only lie to yourself, and that never helps. So always make sure you have the correct score on your scorecard, and yeah, that's a really important rule, because if you do end up with a wrong score and you're in a professional event or a tournament, they will know and you will be disqualified. So you don't want that happening. Make sure you have the right score on your scorecard. Alright guys, to sign off, we're going to hit a shot.